All right, so now, Adam, we talked a little about the girl with the dragon tattoo
Yep.
before the show, and then at the start of the show. And I love the books.
Which I haven't read.
You haven't read, but you have seen the movies.
Yes.
Not just the American movie, but also the original Swedish movies.
Yes. I saw the Swedish films, and I saw the American film as well. And I do enjoy the Swedish films better. I thought they were just more.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I felt they were truer to the books than the American one without having read them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you know what I mean? I
No,
just
absolutely.
felt they were.
They felt like the American one was trying to go for a bit of a watered down view for Western audiences, but the Swedish one captured like the raw.
Well, it's
the
definitely
rawness of
that,
some of
but
the
like
scenes
it's definitely
because it's not
with the casting, even with Michael Nyqvist played Blomkvist,
I don't know.
which is the Michael Nyqvist was the bad guy from John Wick.
The first one?
Yes.
The son or because the son
The
The guy
older,
with the
the-
slick back hair.
Yeah,
camera.
okay, I'm about to say, yeah, okay.
Who just died, by the way, this past year
Oh, really?
at 56.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never
So
piss
he,
off John Wick, man. He'll get you one way or another.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah.
mean it was just a film?
he,
Wow.
he was also the bad guy in Mission Impossible,
Which-
Ghost Protocol as
Okay.
well.
Oh, the good one.
But he, as being the protagonist, the journalist from this book series, it is so refreshing to see like the hero without like the hero's body. You know what I mean? Because in an American version, which
just
they
as a
did,
good doughy hero.
yeah, they
Yeah.
put him as Daniel Craig, which Daniel Craig's is James Bond.
Daniel
He's got this
Craig
kind
is
of
in impossibly good shape for no reason. It's
yes,
like before The Rock was The Rock, everyone was crazy about Daniel Craig put on like so much muscle for James Bond,
Yeah.
but he's cut and he's got this weird head, but the rest of him is magnifique. And
What's wrong
He
with his
was-
head?
Daniel Craig has a goofy head, man.
yeah,
You never looked at him
he's
up
a goofy looking
close?
guy.
Yeah.
But Michael
it
Nyqvist
works when he was
as-
like really skinny. I like the guy that played.
Yes,
I've liked
it
almost
looked
everyone
like
that's played.
a journalist would look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it looked like that is your hero for the story. Like that, I can identify with that. You know what I
See,
mean?
now,
That
that's a
looks
little
like
different
a
from me.
So
when
I
I read the book. I'm sorry to cut you off.
no.
We're talking about him. When I read the book, everything that Stieg Larsson, we're talking about the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, by the way. It was originally a book series adapted into a series of films, and right now we're talking about the latest release in graphic novel form.
Yes.
Released worldwide, and I think it presents more of a processable view, but it also has depictions of Mikhail Blomkvist.
Yes.
Who,
And he
when I was reading
seems
the book-
kind of like in the Nyqvist type of way, where
He
he's
does.
not like a ripped guy. He's got like a little
No,
bit of
no,
like
not
a
at all.
doughy center. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's
Not
a guy
the most
who...
strikingly handsome person, but he's a very up and up.
Adam Willis says, yeah, he's kind of a gargoyle, it's a tubby,
But
tubby
it's like
loser,
why
but,
do why do people respond to him? Because he's like he's got a clean record. He's a great guy, and he's doing good work. You know what I mean? He's doing the work.
I him as like a tubby, out of work looking Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gerard
Yeah,
Butler.
that's not a bad way to.
If he never did 300, so he never got like that level in shape. He just like let
And you
himself
never saw
go.
him that way before.
Yeah,
you're
and
like,
he wore
picture
like
him.
Cosby sweaters all day.
Gotcha.
But without the Cosby connotation.
Yeah, but the story of the girl with the dragon tattoo is Michael Blomkvist is this journalist. He's like the journalist basically, and he's what's the newspaper he works at?
He worked for Millennium.
Millennium
is
that
the name
he
of the-
started, but it starts out with him just getting out of court for a verdict that found him guilty
Mhm.
of basically botching his story and accusing somebody of embezzlement, which they were found clear of. So his whole credibility is now in tatters, basically.
Holy
like
shot!
that,
When
so.
you're a journalist, that's like big news. And
Yeah.
the fact that this is a book, this is a series, a story series that isn't about like, oh, well, the action hero just came back from the war and now he's got to take revenge on. No,
Right.
it's none of that. This is the journalist involved in like a legal battle,
Yeah.
and that's where the stuff stems from. Like it's a different take, which is one of the things that really jibed with me.
And then when you are introduced to Elizabeth Salander, who is the girl with the dragon tattoo, she was hired to basically do a background check to find out his dirt. And she finds out, he's remarkably clean. He's had an affair, but that's like out there. It's not like a big deal. And then through circumstance, they start working together.
Yeah, it's a
And
greatly put together story because it starts off as a simple story about a journalist who needs help, and he's getting help through unexpected avenues.
Mm.
And then it just like go the bullet train pulls out the station with like there's people being tortured, there's like monstrous hitmen, there's politics involving politicians pulling fast ones on orphans who are being used for like sex crimes. It goes like, and not even off the rails, like everything's really well constructed, but it goes like 0 to 60.
Yeah, I mean, and that's all in there, but I think the basic thing that attracts at least me to this story is the relation.
Drama?
Yeah,
Adam, you have
the relationship between Blomkvist and Lisbeth is because they're kind of like they're so good at what they do, and that's what brings them together because they're the best at research, the other at like
it's Wolverine working with Bret the Hitman Hart.
More or less, yeah. It's like tacticians, you know what I mean? It's people like doing work and kind of finding that connection through that research that they're doing, you know what I mean? And
I love the way they presented the relationship between them that develops in the story, and that's not a spoiler.
Strictly mental, you know what I mean? It's all a heady kind of relationship. I mean, they do have physical connection, but
they're both
that
people
stems
that are
from something
mentally
else.
In different places. Lisbeth, and her entire life, she's been abused. She doesn't trust anybody, especially not men. And her only healthy sexual relationship ever in life has been with this woman who's only around like 25% of the time. And whereas Mikhail is he's not a gigolo, but if you've known any poly people,
one of the first things
he's exactly
she points
that kind
out,
of guy. He's very unassuming. His body's just kind of like average, but on his own like charisma and his own sense of just, I'm living here.
One of the first things she points out when she's describing him too is like he has a very healthy sex life.
Yes,
That's
man
one of the first
gets
things she
down.
says.
He's throwing it left and
right.
And
one of the biggest differences in terms of the movies.
I'm gonna say, and his biggest continue.
One of the biggest differences for the movies in terms of like the first Swedish movie and the American version is the way they show the sexual
tension.
The sex scene basically between Blomkvist and her in each film. They are so completely different. The Hollywood version is completely a Hollywood thing where it's this, this animalistic,
there's passion,
back and forth.
There's like clawing,
and
there's clothes being thrown, there's
in the Swedish version, it's more her.
It's more how it actually was in the book.
Well, it's more her, like, taking control. I need this. I'm doing this. I'm getting something out of it. And he's just kind of like a bystander in the whole situation.
I need to get off. You're here. Come along for the ride, but just remember who's driving this.
But she's turned on by him in some other way, not just like she doesn't want to physically enjoy him. She's just doing it for a sole purpose. And I thought that was such a good way to show it. Because I don't know if it's like that in the book, but that was perfect. And I thought they must have ruined it in the American version.
In the American version, they really Americanized it. The thing about the Swedish version is everything I mentioned, it was raw. By that I meant like it's unpolished. They showed in the book, they describe like, yes, it's Sweden, but to me, Sweden means everyone's in like ice bars, and they're all like, blonde, beautiful people wearing, they're all have
6'2" and
in July they're wearing white fur coats, and in December they're wearing white fur coats,
and they're all skiing.
Yeah, they're skiing everywhere all the time. They're going to the grocery store skiing.
Cheekbones are just perfectly chiseled.
Yeah, and this presents it like there's different parts. They start off in the city. They go to the countryside, kind of the countryside, just a few miles out of the city, and then their locations are like shacks or like this meat factory, and it's all really real. It all looks unpolished, like you're actually watching someone's story. If the dialogue wasn't set, part of this could have actually been a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they describe Lisbeth is she's not this really sexualized, up version they gave us in the American version.
No.
Even though they did try to make her look a little sick and a little emaciated. This is someone who's been abused most of her life, lived a sedentary lifestyle. Not sedentary, lived a solitary lifestyle. And she has never really cared. She's a nihilist. She's very...
Which makes her very gifted. The solitary lifestyle that is required of somebody that does that deep research that forces you to be by yourself on the computer all the time, but also removing yourself from the subject that you're required to look up.
She doesn't care. She doesn't have those emotional attachments, so she's better at what she does. She's better at finding information, at installing worms into people's computers to get every like iota, nook and cranny.
In the Swedish version, it was Numi Rapace who who played her, and that was kind of the kickoff of her career too.
Well, the thing is, it starts off where she never trusts anyone, and when she starts thinking, okay, maybe I can trust someone, they always turn around on her, and even if it's not malicious, just to show you I can do this. So if I ever need to exert power on you, I can. Like that's the relationship she's had, and that really comes across in the book, and they do a better job of presenting it in the Swedish movies than they did in the American. But I understand why. In the
Right.
American, you really gotta you really gotta polish things and present them to wide audiences. Versus the Swedish one seemed more like an art film, so they were more real with it.
Right.
Now, in the terms of this graphic novel, because in we're talking about it's a new company, and I'm trying to remember. I'm really struggling to
Titan?
remember the. Is that it?
I think so.
Titan Publishing.
I believe so.
All right. Well, Titan's the new comic label that's presenting this. It's the graphic novelization of the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo story, and I thought they were just doing like the first book because each one is it's a long series. So each graphic novel is two different books combining the one. So in the end, I guess they'll do about 6.
Right.
Says
But
Millennium.
Millennium. No, Millennium is the title. The part of the title because that's the name of the publishing company in the story.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, look for
okay.
look for the blue spot. The red spot on top. Does it have it there? Is it something in a circle at the top right or top left of the screen?
It says no.
Country for Old Men. That's
number
not it.
1.
I'll find
Number
it.
1. All right, Adam's on the job. Basically, long story short, it's the original story in graphic novel form, and since it's a story that's known, we know, like backwards and forwards, we've seen all the movies. I love the crap out of the original book story, and then the Swedish one, especially because
Widely
parts
popular
of it-
too, like crazy popular.
surprisingly,
So
because
that's
I never
why
heard anything
there's
about it
this
before
many.
I read it.
Yeah.
I was coincidentally in like the right place in the right situation. I was working for a publishing company, and it was one of the books that was available to me to like actually test product on, and it looked really interesting. So I'm like, let me read this sucker. And the day I started reading it, I start seeing everyone on like the bus, on the train, in parks, just reading the book itself.
Titan Comics.
Yep. Okay, but it was Titan who?
Titan Comics.
Titan Comics, new company. And this is just a great book to come out the box with, or the reason if they're not new, they're new to like the public eye. And this was really great. One thing I emphasized the story for was because we have to emphasize that since it's a known story, the art and the presentation is going to be one of the main things here. Are they making changes that are going to drastically affect the interpretation of the story? And I don't think so. I thought they did a phenomenal job of portraying the original story, not the really cookie cutter Hollywoodized version with and no disrespect to Daniel Craig. I love his work in Layer Cake.
Or even like who directed the American Made? It was
oh no, that Trent Reznor did the music. He didn't direct it.
but it's guy did 7.
Oh Danny Elfman. No, I was trying to say Wes Anderson there. I honestly don't know. I don't remember. It's been a while, but it was someone big.
Yeah.
I remember Trent Reznor did the music specifically, and that was the weirdest thing for me because
Yeah, but he
he's
does
a
the music
metal musician.
for The Social Network. But who directed that?
Wasn't that his? Well, I mean, we'll find it. We'll give
Yeah,
it a
yeah.
second there. But the presentation in this is, I think, really, really above and beyond. It makes a very long story that can be hard to process and digest at sometimes more palatable, and it flows much quicker. Like reading through this book at times after like 15 minutes, I realize where I was in the story and I see how they're drawing certain characters. Oh, okay, I get it. That's not how I pictured so and so in my head, but I see where the influence is for coming. Like when he approaches the next door neighbor that he's apparently throwing the D to every few pages. The image of her in my head was always more along the lines of like River's song, but the way they portrayed her in the book. I'm like, I can definitely see this. This is an older woman who's still very attractive. Think more along the lines of like Jessica Walter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the mom from Archer.
But they don't try to lead you too much with the visual part of it. You know what I mean? It's still like about the story.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? In words like that, it
overpower.
really just kind of accompanies the story, the dialogue, the words, the actual written part. You know what I mean?
Yes,
it
sir.
doesn't try to like overdo it and overpower the actual story. So I think that's what is great about it, because this is really, really a good story, no matter how crazy it gets.
Totally.
It's definitely something that's there's a reason why it's this popular and it
Yeah.
catches your attention. You know what I mean?
Right
so
there.
I thought it was great.
I'm giving it an absolute thumbs up.
Mm.
Adam?
Yep. I'm right behind
all
you.
the way.
Yeah.
And one of the
Yeah, I
things
think
that
this is
really-
actually the appropriate format for it too.
you know what?
You know what I mean? Visual
I
and
can
you know,
get
it's a
behind
great
that.
representation of this story. So I was all for it.
I can get behind it, man.
Yeah.
Herb, have you been paying attention? Because this is your homework assignment.
Read The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
No, you're gonna read all three of them.
All three books?
Yeah, that's
Or
right.
comic books?
Yeah, Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. No comic for you, man. You've been bad. You got to read the whole. I want you to finish 1,010 pages by next week.
Yeah, rest in peace, Michael Nyqvist.
Yeah, I do. I didn't even know, man. Scheiße. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was a great book series. I do recommend anyone check it out if you're interested in the novels. If you're going to see the movies, definitely seek out the Swedish release films because they're subtitled, but the story is presented in a more organic way. And I think it does a disservice to church it up like they did for the American version, because as much as I like those actors, Rooney Mara played Elizabeth Salander in there.
David Fincher directed him.
Oh, damn it! I love David Fincher. How could I forget that?
Oh.
Damn it, Johnny. Why?
Yeah.
I blame you. All right. Well, it's a great story. We highly recommend the comics. Let's move on because The Shape of Water is Guillermo del Toro's.
I like his movie, but like I think I've always said